The people God was most present with were the ones who prayed the longest without hearing anything back. Not in spite of their pain. Inside it, there is a specific kind of hurt that doesn't come from an event, it comes from a person. A parent who chose to leave, a love that looked at you and decided you weren't quite enough, a home that was supposed to be safe and wasn't, and you've carried that weight into every room since then, into every relationship, into every moment when you got quiet enough to feel it. You've prayed for God to take it away. You've sat in churches where the worship was beautiful and the tears came and you thought, this is it, this time it lifts. And the next morning the weight was still there. You've declared scripture over it. You've fasted. You've decided to just trust God more times than you can count. And the pain is still there. If that's where you are, there is a question living somewhere underneath all of it, not the kind you say out loud, the kind that surfaces at 2 a.m. when everything is honest. Is God actually doing anything? What I want to tell you is this: there is a reason your pain has survived every prayer, every season, every altar call. And it is not the reason you're afraid it is. A blacksmith doesn't take damaged metal and patch it. He doesn't wrap it or protect it or treat it gently. He puts it in fire. Not to destroy it. Because he understands something about that metal that the metal cannot understand about itself. The only thing fire can remove is what was never supposed to be there. And the only thing that survives the forge is the only thing that was ever real. What you've been calling God's silence may actually be the sound of extreme heat, and that changes everything about what you think is happening to you right now. Here is what no one told you about emotional pain, especially the kind that comes from abandonment, from rejection, from a childhood that left you learning survival instead of love. It doesn't just hurt you. It forms you. When a child grows up in an environment where love was conditional, unpredictable, or absent, something happens that goes much deeper than sadness. The child doesn't just suffer, the child builds an entire self around the suffering, an identity shaped by the wound. I am the one who wasn't chosen. I am the one who has to earn love or it disappears. I am the one who has to be strong because no one is coming. These aren't just thoughts, they become a whole inner structure, a way of reading every room you walk into, every relationship you form, every time God seems quiet. Psychologists call this a defensive identity. It's not built to help you thrive, it's built to help you survive. And here's what makes it so dangerous: it works. This identity has gotten you through things that should have broken you completely. It has kept you functional when everything else fell apart. Letting go of it feels unthinkable, like dropping the only weapon that ever worked. But a survival identity doesn't know how to receive love. It only knows how to earn it, defend it, or run from it before it has the chance to leave first. And if God simply removed your pain without dealing with this, you would still be trapped in the same invisible cage, just with the door open. Now read Romans 8:15 slowly. You did not receive a spirit that makes you a slave again to fear, but you received a spirit of adoption by which we cry, Abba, Father. That word slavery is not poetic. Paul is describing an actual internal condition, a way of relating to God not as a child to a father, but as a servant who has to perform to stay safe. Theologians call it the orphan spirit, and it has almost nothing to do with whether your biological father was present or absent. It has everything to do with whether, somewhere inside you, love still feels like something you have to earn, keep, or lose. Most people carry it without knowing it. Almost everyone who grew up in emotional pain carries some form of it. So here is the question God is answering with your pain: how do you heal an orphan identity? You cannot counsel it away, you cannot declare it away, you cannot worship through it once and leave with it gone, because it isn't a feeling, it's a structure. And structures don't yield to information, they yield to fire. This is where it gets uncomfortable. Because the invitation hidden inside your continuing pain is not passive. It is not just hold on. It is release what you built to survive. And that is terrifying. That survival identity protected you. It got you through years of things that were genuinely too heavy for a person to carry alone. Letting go of it doesn't feel like healing, it feels like collapse. But here's what you need to understand about gold. Gold doesn't argue with the fire. It doesn't negotiate with the heat or bargain for a lower temperature. It simply holds its shape while everything that was never gold dissolves around it. What is real about you cannot burn. What happens if it never burns? The answer is written in every relationship where you pushed love away before it could hurt you. In every time you felt God moving close and something inside you quietly backed away. In every moment where someone offered genuine belonging and a part of you said, "I'll believe it when I see it last." The defensive identity doesn't just affect how you feel, it affects what you are able to receive. And a child of God who cannot receive love from their father will spend their entire life spiritually hungry in a house that has more than enough. This is not accusation. This is the compassion underneath your pain finally speaking clearly. Now hear this. God did not allow your pain because he forgot to protect you. He allowed specific pain at this depth for this long because there is something inside you that cannot be removed any other way. Not the wound. The identity built around the wound. And his goal was never to return you to who you were before the hurt, because who you were before the hurt was still unfinished. The goal is to reveal what the hurt has been covering all along, someone who was chosen before the pain ever existed. Someone whose identity doesn't come from what was done to them, but from what was spoken over them before the world had a chance to speak first. Ephesians 1:4 says you were chosen before the foundation of the world. That means the version of you the Father chose existed before the abandonment, before the rejection, before the broken home. The fire isn't creating something new, it is uncovering something ancient. This is what it looks like on the other side. Not someone who survived their pain and kept the scars as the best they could hope for, but someone who walked through enough fire that the thing protecting them from love finally dissolved and found that underneath it, they were beloved the whole time, not a repaired version of the broken self. Something the fire made possible that nothing else ever could. Not healed. Forged. Healed means repaired. Forged means transformed into something that could only have come through what you went through. And people who have been forged don't just talk about God's goodness. They carry it differently. They can let love land without immediately checking if it's real. They stay in rooms where belonging is offered instead of finding reasons to leave. So when you ask why God keeps allowing your pain to continue, this is the answer. He is not withholding healing, he is performing it, slowly, deeply, in the places that hurt the most, because those are the exact places where the person he designed you to be has been waiting to be found. The fire you've been praying out of. It is the fire that is returning you to yourself. Let it work. And if something in you just recognized this, if you felt the weight of an identity you've been carrying that was never really yours, that feeling is not random. It is the beginning of something the fire is making room for. Because the first thing the forge removes is always the part that was convinced it had to earn what it already has.